In this session, we'll be taking a look at Secure MIME. What is MIME and what is Secure MIME and how this protocol works. So what is MIME? MIME stands for Multipurpose Internet Mail Extensions. So it is the standard that transformed email from a simple text-only medium into a multimedia system. So MIME was created to extend email so it could carry any type of data. So MIME works by adding headers to an email that tells the recipient's email client exactly what kind of data is coming in your mails. So early days, we had mails sent in plain text. So the entire content of the mail was just ASCII characters. Whereas now we send mails, we attach PDFs, we attach images, we attach videos. So mail contains multiple parts. And this the purpose of MIME standard is to ensure that the client, the recipient, knows what comes as part of the mail. So which part of the mail contains a PDF, which part of the mail contains images, which part of the mail contains plain text. So there should be a clear boundary. So there is a boundary marker which says, okay, this is the text content, and then we have a boundary marker, then we have this is the PDF content, and then we have a boundary marker and we say this is the image content. And for each of the content we have a content ID, we have an content encoding scheme. So all these things are part of the MIME standard. So we have MIME version, and then we have a clear boundary marker, and for each part of the mail we just define what content it is plain text, or it is PDF, it is an image, or it is a video, and we have a boundary marker clearly defining when this content ends and when this content starts. And we also have a content encoding, content ID, and other parameters that define the content. So a mail is defined using multi-purpose internet mail extensions. So it is a standard which defines what are the various types of contents and the encoding schemes that comes with a mail that is actually not a simple text mail. It's a rich multimedia system. So let us take a look at the content type header. So this is what I was telling you. When the content is plain text or HTML, so you're going to have content type to be text or HTML. So when the content that is coming in as an image, say the user has attached an image, the content type header will be having image or JPG. And application of PDF to be the content type for any PDF documents that come through the mail as attachments, and audio or MPEG for music files. So when the content you're receiving, it matches a specific say it has a PDF document, the content type header will be having the content type to be application or PDF. So this is used so that the client, the email client which receives the email, knows what kind of content it is receiving in the various parts of the mail. So I told you there is a boundary string. So first you have plain text, and then you have a string which marks the boundary of the plain text. Then you have your PDF attachment, then you have a boundary which marks the end of this PDF attachment. And it's a combination of strings that it's a large string that actually acts as a boundary. So you can go to your mail, and you can go to show original. So when you click on show original, you'll be able to see the headers. So here you can see the MIME version to be 1.0, and you can very well see the content type to be plain text, and this is the boundary markers. So I told you there is a plain text content here. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for reading this mail. So that is the content type header which says this content is plain text, and we have some characters set defining the content. And this is the boundary marker. So you can see the boundary markers clearly tell us when this plain text content start and when it ends. The next content type is text or HTML. So a content is sent both as plain text and HTML. This is for compatibility features. So here we have content transfer encoding. So this is what kind of encoding is used. It is quoted and printable. So the HTML version of the content is sent here. So again, you have a boundary marker here and a boundary marker here saying this is content type text HTML boundary markers. And then there are two PDF files coming in as attachments here. So here you can see the content type to be application and PDF. And again, you have a clear boundary marker set for this content type. And we have content transfer encoding. We say it's base 64. It's like a concept wherein they 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 convert the raw binary content into ASCII characters so that email systems don't have an issue in accepting the contents. So it is we have a content type, we have an attachment ID, and we have a content ID. We have boundary markers, and also there's another PDF file coming in. Say if the content type is an image that is attached, and we are getting an image, then this is going to be an image. Now we have another PDF file, and we have an attachment ID for this PDF and a content ID and a clear boundary marker here. So a MIME standard defines all these things. What's the kind of content you have, and how it is um, defined using content type headers, content ID, attachment ID, and boundary markers. So this is the purpose of MIME. We'll see what is secure MIME here. Secure MIME is nothing but say you're getting this PDF as content type is application PDF, right? So you're going to get an image. So we're going to use convert each of these objects into cryptographic objects. We're going to encrypt them. We're going to send them as encrypted objects, which will be decrypted on the client side. So we're going to take this MIME standard. We're going to take every object as defined as part of this MIME. And when we say we are securing it, what we mean to say here is we are going to encrypt it and we're going to send, and we'll be decrypting the same at the recipient's end. So this is what is a secure multipurpose internet mail extension. It is a standard protocol used by most organizations and government agencies to ensure that email communication is secure, private, and authentic. So we have already seen pretty good privacy where the generation of private keys and public keys rest upon the shoulders of the senders and receivers. Here it is used by most of the organizations and government agencies because here we have public keys and private keys as part of a digital certificate. Anyway, we'll see all these things by taking a look at an visualization of how secure MIME works. Let's go to the visualization. So how secure MIME is different from PGP. So PGP we have seen in the previous session. If you have not looked at that session, please have a look at it. So just a comparison. See, SMIME relies on authority. So you need to get a digital certificate. Again, if you have a question on what is digital certificate, we had a very good session on X.509, understanding why we need digital certificates and what is the chain of trust and all those things. So have a look at it. I'll be leaving the link for those sessions in the description below. Have a look at it. So here SMIME relies on getting digital certificates for all its receivers and senders. So every person in your email system is going to have a digital certificate as an identity. So digital certificate embeds a public key. So that is where the most important thing when you talk about secure MIME. And these keys will be used for encryption, will be used for signing, will be used for decryption, and will also be relying on hashing algorithms for creating the hashes as part of the digital signature process. So that is the difference. Here we get official digital certificates from CAs, certificate authorities, and we use that in our encryption and decryption schemes. Whereas PGP, it is like every person is responsible for generating his own keys, maintaining his keys, and getting his keys accepted by others. So that kind of a thing was happening with PGP, whereas SMIME is like a standard that is used by most of the organizations across the globe as an email security standard. So now let us take a look at visualization on how SMIME works. So here We have a sender who will be sending emails, and here you see this is the key difference. The sender should possess an digital certificate, the X.509 certificate, which contains the sender's public key and also has the certificate will not have the sender's private key. The sender will maintain it. So a sender, it is mandatory for the sender to have an X.509 certificate. And likewise, the receivers should also have an X.509 certificate, which embeds the receiver's public key, and the receiver maintains his private key away from the certificate. So this is important. Everyone in your system, every party that is communicating should possess an X.509 certificate. And how this process starts is, let's say we have an email message with the PDF attachment. We'll take this example. So what we do here is we take the email message with the PDF attachment. We give it to an SHA-256 hashing algorithm. We create a fixed length message digest as the output. Now this message digest is used for creating a digital signature. So we are using here RSA encryption. So we are taking the sender's private key and we are signing the message digest. Actually, we are using RSA encryption here. We say we are signing the message digest to create the digital signature. So the sender's private key is used for this, and we take the email message with the PDF, and we take the digital signature. All these three components we encrypt, say we using symmetric key encryption. For this we generate a session key. So this is the key used for symmetric key encryption, which is generated and used. So we encrypt the email, the PDF attachment, the digital signature that we have created, and we get the cipher C. The next step is we take the key and we encrypt the key using the receiver's public key. So what is that we get here is we get the X.509 certificate from the receiver, and we take the public key inside the X.509 certificate. We encrypt this key used in symmetric encryption using RSA encryption here. So what is that we use here? The receiver's public key from the digital certificate. We get the encrypted version of the key, and then we send the email, PDF, and digital signature encrypted using AES decipher, and also the symmetric key which was encrypted using the receiver's public key, yes, to the receiver. So this is what is happening from the sender's end. Now let us take a look at the receiver's end. So as I told you, receiver and sender both have acquired a digital certificate, and they have their own public keys and private keys, and these certificates are issued after verification by a certificate authority. So now what the receiver receives is the encrypted version of the email message PDF and then the digital signature. This is the encrypted key used for encryption in AES. So first the key is taken. This key was actually encrypted using the receiver's public key. So this key can be decrypted by the receiver using the receiver's private key. So the key is taken and it is decrypted by the receiver's private key so that we get the session key out. Now this key can be used for decrypting. So we take this C, which is this cipher. This cipher is actually the encrypted mail message PDF plus digital signature. So we have encrypted and we have sent. So now we can decrypt it, and for decryption we use the key K. And after decryption you're going to get the email, PDF and the digital signature. So what we are going to do now is we are going to take this email and PDF, send it to SHA-256, and we'll be generating our message digest here. Next we'll be taking a digital signature. See, the digital signature was actually encrypted using the sender's private key. Now the receiver is getting the digital signature, and the receiver will use the sender's public key in X.509 certificate to actually verify the signature. So this is RSA decryption. So we'll be able to verify the signature. So once when you decrypt it, what is that you're going to get is the message digest. So this is what we encrypted and sent using the sender's private key. Now we are able to decrypt it using the sender's public key, which is available for the receiver, and we are getting the message digest here. So now we will check whether the generated message digest equals the received message digest. Then we can be rest assured that the email has been received from an authentic source, and the integrity of the email is maintained. So this is how we secure emails using secure MIME protocol. So this is the quick comparison of SMIME with PGP. When you talk about the trust model, SMIME uses X.509 certificates issued by certificate authorities. Here, pretty good privacy. The generation of keys and maintenance and verification of keys relies on the users. So it is when you talk about ease of use, it is natively supported by all your email systems, that enterprise email systems you use like Outlook, Apple Mail, and Gmail. Whereas here, pretty good privacy, you need to install third-party software or standalone software like GPG. So when you talk about key distribution, public keys are distributed using X.509 certificates in a standardized format. Here we generate public keys using specialized software and or public key servers. So here cost, we have a cost. We have to pay for the digital certificates that we get from a trusted source. Here it is generally free because it's open source. And primary use is corporate environments and government sectors. Here, as I told you, activists and journalists, whistleblowers, and bug bounty hunters. And when you're maintaining sensitive records everywhere, so it's a personal choice. More comparison when you talk about SMIME, it is validated by a third party certificate authority. So the certificate authority issues the digital certificate after validation. So here when it comes to validation, it is the keys are validated by other users. So again, when it comes to certificate format, we strictly use an X.509 standardized format. Here it is open PGP, flexible custom format we use. There is no standardized format, strict format like X.509 here. And for key revocation, we use certificate revocation list. Say if a private key is broken for a party, then that specific X.509 certificate will be moved to a certificate revocation list. So we use such list for verification of certificates. Here we rely on the user. So we use revocation certificates generated by the user. And ease of deployment, SecureMIME is very easy for large companies managed by an IT um, department. Whereas when you talk about PGP, see everything rests on the shoulders of the individuals who, because we have to create the keys and maintain it. So it's easier for individuals, and there are no fees involved. So that's how you compare pretty good privacy with secure MIME. And I hope you are all able to follow what is MIME, multi-purpose internet mail extensions. And when you take a look at a mail containing different types of media like PDF, image, and audio files, you have understood how MIME defines the various parts of the mails using boundary markers. And then we move on to secure MIME, wherein we think about using encryption, decryption, public key encryption, and symmetric key encryption and decryption techniques, and also hashing algorithms for creating digital signatures for securing the various types of data you get in a mail, and for securely communicating the same towards the client. So here, what plays the key role in SMIME is X.509 certificates. With that, we are coming to an end of this session. I hope you were able to follow this. And if you have any questions, you can leave those questions in the comments below. I'll be answering that. That's it for this session. Take care.